You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage. Over.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you on a beautiful evening, putting a pin in 2016. And what a year it was here behind enemy lines. You heard last week, hopefully, you heard our first edition of our Best of 2016. Time for our second show. Couldn't limit it to one show. Had to do it in 2 because we had so much great content this year, so many great interviews, so many great times, whether it be traveling to CPAC, whether it be going to fairs, holding their feet to the fire, as I'm getting alerts on my phone about other things going on in news today. Faith and, hold their feet to the fire by fair and going to Family Research Center's Value Voters Summit, all those great things that we do here on the show, and all the great people we get to talk to. And we bring you even more of the best of 2016 on this show. Before we get to that, though, just want to say that if you are following Behind Enemy Lines Radio's Buffoon of the Year contest, we're at the finals, guys. We're right there. It's time to pick the Buffoon of the Year. Who you got, America? We're down to Donna Brazile or Anthony Weiner. That's who you voted for. That's who's in the finals. Now it's time to tell me who you got. And when you're deciding who you got, please remember that Amanda Kohut, one of our regular contributors here on the show, will probably hunt you down and get you if you don't vote for Anthony Weiner. If you've seen her on social media, you'll see that she is very much in favor of getting Anthony Weiner that elusive BOTY victory he's been so close to for the past couple of years. So if you want to know how to vote, go to www.behindenemylines.radio.us and check out the latest article about Buffoon of the Year. The poll is right there in the article. You're voting for Buffoon of the Year, and there's also a third place buffoon. Who's third rate? Is it Colin Kaepernick or the Huffington Post? Check our archives, and you'll be able to see how and why each nominee was nominated, and you can go there and vote for the winners. Tell us who you got, and we'll announce the winner in our first show of the year next week. I believe it's going to be January 3rd is that show, so check it out then and find out who won and who will be reigning as Buffoon of the Year. I know I have my favorite, and I'm hoping you have yours, and you let us know who it is, and we all get together in the new year and we celebrate the biggest buffoon of 2016. But right now, while you're mulling that over, and you're hopefully checking out www.behindthenemylinesradio.us, take a listen to this interview we did. It was probably one of the most important interviews we did. You're not going to find, my favorite interviews are not the famous people, although we get a lot of famous people on the show. My favorite interviews are the everyday Americans looking to make a difference. And that's what we found with our friend Andrew Marr and Chase Rowan from Warrior Angels Foundation. They became a group close to my heart this year. And this was the first interview we did back at CPAC. Take a listen to it right now.
Andrew, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
We've been having a lot of fun, Sean. Sean Atkins is going to remain with us, the author of Squashing Liberalism.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
We have. We've had a lot of fun, but I you know what? I don't. I'm going to say this, and this is from a Marine veteran to you guys, because I know what you guys do. I don't even feel worthy to sit here.
You're worthy.
Well, I know that, but I just want to say what you guys do. You not just your service to the country, but your continued service. I always say that because so many times I'm sure you guys are fed these accolades. Oh, thank you for your service. Thank you for service. But people forget the continued service after our military service that takes place. That's just as important, sometimes more important, especially with what you guys are doing.
It's about contribution, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
Absolutely. Well, let's fill in the audience about what exactly we're talking about here. Andrew Marr, the CEO and founder of the Warrior Angels Foundation, Special Forces Green Beret, started the organization with the sole purpose to stop the deaths of veterans suffering from PTSD symptoms. We talked about this on the show a few times before. We actually have friends who are veterans that suffer from PTSD. It's such an underreported issue, but it's so important to talk about because it's in the shadows and because there are so many people suffering alone from PTSD.
Absolutely. Let me give a little background story. Like you said, I was 9 years in Special Forces, and I want to caveat that with this story is not special to me. This is the story of a number of our veterans, and that's why we're voicing the opinion, so they can know about it. Can you guys hear me all right?
Oh, yeah, we hear you just fine. You're doing
Fantastic.
great.
So 9 years in Special Forces. I dealt mostly in explosives. I was explosive breacher, so that means we put a surgical charge on a denied point of entry to try to get inside to a bad guy.
Right.
So it was in and around countless explosions for my career. Fast forward after my third deployment, again, as a elite performer in life and death situations. Coming home 6 months after that, I wake up. I'm on 13 different medications. I'm an alcoholic. My wife is 9 months pregnant with our fifth child, and her only request of me for that day was if I could just keep my drinking down in case she went to labor, and she didn't have to drive herself to the hospital.
Wow.
At that time, I was like, how did I get here? You know what I mean? This is not the man I was.
Yep.
And I came to a crossroads, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit kicking against external circumstances, and we're going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to find a different alternative way to treat this than all of the antidepressants, anti-anxieties, psychotropics, narcotics, opiates, and everything else I was on. And that's how we kind of got started.
It's an amazing story, and the road you've taken is incredible. So many people don't make it down that road. Chase Rowan also with us, the community relationship for Warrior Angels. Chase, tell us your story about how you got involved. You're in Special Forces, Army Ranger. Thank you doesn't say enough for everything that you guys have done. But tell us your story of the road that you've taken to get to this table today.
Yeah, well, in 2003, I decided to join the military. Of course, 9/11 was my main reasoning for that. I was a part of 3rd Ranger Battalion out of Fort Benning, Georgia. Deployed to northern Iraq in 2004. Shortly after returning from Iraq, before I was able to go to Ranger School, I suffered a parachute accident during a nighttime training operation. My parachute didn't open all the way, so I hit the ground going about 80 miles an hour.
Oh, man.
Caused a severe traumatic brain injury. That was then my way out of... They kind of said, hey, you can't do anything else with us, so we're going to medically discharge you out of the military. Shortly after being out, I started to notice, with about a year and a half, started to notice a slow decline in just quality of life, my well-being, my marriage, in so many different areas, and I just kind of accepted it at the time. But then, fast forward, years later, Andrew got out of the military. And Andrew and I crossed paths. We've known each other a long time, and he was struggling with the same issues. So,
gathering together, working together,
yes, sir.
Working for a common purpose, keeping focus on that. Amanda, you got some questions, right?
Yes. So we're at CPAC, where we have thousands of people who I know would do anything to help out our veterans. And PTSD is often referred to as the invisible wound that is brought home from the war. And we don't have a lot of conversation about it. It's hard to identify it. What can we do to help identify those veterans who might be suffering, reach out to them, and give them a hand?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and we need to talk about two things. We need to talk about traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress, because they're interrelated often. And what we now know about traumatic brain injury, Sean, is it's a two-phased injury. So the first part is that initial trauma, be it a blast wave, be it a acceleration, deacceleration, blunt force trauma, like I said.
Something where the brain moves inside your skull, either side to side or front to back.
Initial, okay? The second, what you hit on is the silent part, and that's the post-traumatic inflammation, swelling of the brain. And that can happen a day, a week, a month, years later after the injury. So what we've identified is a specific group of hormones in the brain called neurosteroids that are responsible for making us who we are, responsible for our cognition, our behavior, our psychology, physiology, executive decision-making, all these things. And so when you have that swelling of the brain, the pituitary system can't work properly. That causes all these cascades of symptoms down the line. The current mechanism is to treat it with medication and psychotherapy, which doesn't work.
And when it's so clinically put out as you did, it sounds like it's obvious, but the symptoms, people can be asymptomatic of TBI and PTSD. Right. So much time, and inside the tissue is deteriorating, and things are happening internally that nobody sees.
Let me say something about that, because I'm dealing with this right now on a family level.
Yeah.
My dad's a Marine Corps veteran from Vietnam era, and he's told me stuff in the last 12 months that he's never told me in my whole life. I'm 45 years old.
Yeah.
And that's something, he's thank God, he's seeking treatment right now. He's getting some help from the VA. And I'm going to ask you this, just brother to brother. What else can he do other than VA treatment and seeing a psychologist, talking about stuff like that? I know we talked about a lot of drugs and stuff like that.
This is what we're offering, Sean.
Right.
We're offering an alternative that treats the underlying condition.
Okay.
We need to find out what his underlying condition is. And how do you do that? You do it with an objective blood test. How easy is that? Look for
sounds simple, yeah.
Specific group of hormones saying, "Oh my God, this guy's deficient in this. No wonder he has all these.
So
he has all these problems."
So you're pinpointing it with an actual blood sample versus trying to crack the code in someone's mind. Right.
It's like hormone replacement therapy.
Exactly.
Is what it is.
Exactly. Treating the underlying condition by doing a individualized, objective blood panel, and then you replenish what you're deficient in.
Right. So Chase, you're actually going through a lot of this, right?
Yes.
So why don't you explain to you the difference in when you first started the treatments and to where you are now?
Okay, well, I get funny face every time I say this, but when I started the treatment beforehand, my life was honestly at the bottom. And I had not quite realized it yet, hadn't accepted it, but I was drinking a lot. My kids weren't getting to see me as much. Well, then I start the treatment. We're talking 3 days. I wake up the third day, and the first thing I do is smile. Not even joking. And I hadn't done that. I hadn't wanted to face a day in over a year, well over a year. And then it hit me, and I just started getting teary, and I started thinking, I told my wife, I said, there's hundreds of thousands of guys like me, with kids, with a wife, with families that are out there struggling right now. And I was like, and who's going to help them? Nobody is. Nobody's wanting to do anything. Everybody's wanting to drug these guys up.
Because they're treating the symptoms, not the actual disease. Is what's happening here.
Well, is the VA currently using the blood test?
No. The VA does not offer this treatment protocol, and we were fortunate enough to get lined up with the top neuroendocrinologist in the field of treating traumatic brain injuries out of California. And so here's what the VA does. They say, okay, this person's deficient in testosterone. They give him a testosterone. But here's the thing. There's precursors to testosterone, things that are responsible for making it upstream. And if that's affected and you're not treating that, you're just treating testosterone, then you're not fixing the issue. That's just, again, masking a symptom. So the body's going to overcompensate, and it's going to overload your cortisol, your sympathetic nervous system, and you're going to be hypervigilant. You're going to be on edge. You're not going to be able to sleep. You're going to have adrenal fatigue, so you're going to have extreme highs, extreme lows. These are all things that we can now tie back up into right into the being deficient in these hormones.
As Andrew's talking, I can't help but think of a neighbor that actually committed suicide. He was in the Marines, and I remember vividly the first time he had his first break. My father, God rest his soul, who was also Marine, actually had to go into the house. He was alone in the house with a weapon. My father had to go into the house and actually yell at him like he was a drill sergeant to get him to snap back into reality and then go into treatment. And unfortunately, his story, like many others, is one where he ultimately ended up taking his life. And I can't help but think that, God, if we knew then what we know now,
right.
And how many people, talented people, imaginative people, bright people that we've lost.
Is it still 22 a day, Andrew?
Here's the thing. That's the numbers out, but it's actually
so much
higher.
more than that.
But here's why. They only can say it's a suicide if they leave a suicide note, a premeditated thing. Okay?
Wow.
So if somebody drives off a bridge, takes a massive overdose, does all these other things, and doesn't leave anything out, then they won't do it.
So it's likely much higher than that.
What we've heard estimated as at more like 40 a day.
God.
It's
which is
boggles your mind.
More than double the national
Could you
average.
imagine if
More
it
than
was
double.
40 children a day, what we'd be saying in the news?
Right.
Could you imagine we were saying it was 40 women a day, what would we be saying in the news?
Well, you have to think.
Why isn't this reported on more?
You have to think about the second and the third order effects of that veteran, that service member committing suicide. The wife, the family, second, third generation problems. We've had enough.
Right.
We have an answer. We have a solution. It's cost effective. We can treat them anywhere without having to go to the VA and give them world-class care with one of the top doctors in the field of endocrinology.
So let me ask you, why has the VA not adopted this yet? Is it bureaucracy and red tape?
Absolutely.
That's what I mean. Obviously, yeah.
Think about this, Sean. I was on 13 medications. The generic cost of that a month was close to $3,000 a month.
So you were a customer.
You know what, Sean?
There's in somebody's good profit margin to take our guys off of all these medications.
There's two reasons too, and Chase and I are going to get into in a second. Reason number one is it's bureaucratic red tape. Reason number two is it's not cookie cutter, right?
Yeah.
It's not cookie cutter treatment, right?
Let's
Chase?
do it the same way.
Individualized,
Yeah.
and it is a doctor that is doing what all doctors should be doing, which is let's figure out what the individual has and what their situation is first, and then treat that, pinpoint it. Instead of, hey, how do you feel? You feel this way? Okay, we'll give you this medication. That does nothing.
And when you talk about manipulating hormone therapies, you have to really gauge the person you're dealing with to find out what their levels are individually. So a doctor in a VA system, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, won't really have the discretion to go and do all this testing, which can be expensive, and then go through the follow-up of adjusting and maneuvering as the treatment progresses on.
They need proper training, and we have an answer for that. We can train in everything. We have a complete answer, and you're absolutely right. Though the problem is they give a cookie cutter solution to an individual problem, and that after 15 years has not worked. Absolutely has not worked. And to keep trying it is ludicrous.
Absolutely. It's the definition of insanity, Amanda. You keep banging your head against the wall expecting a different result, and nothing happens.
Exactly. Right. Is there anything that we could do in terms of lobbying or advocacy to try and get this treatment implemented in the VA?
Yeah. We're in talks with the highest echelons of the VA, and we're going to continue to put the full court press on them and continue to put out the immediate fire, and that's to get these guys treatment. So when you turn 100 zombies and back into the productive citizens in the silver sector, that's going to have a massive rippling effect. And then you treat more and more and more. By soon, it's going to take root, and it's going to be demanded that the government is either going to get on the train or they're going to miss it, because technology will come by and it will make the VA irrelevant, and we can just rely on certain technologies to do these things for us.
It sounds like a great solution, and I'm glad that it's finally in the works. We want to get everybody on board with this by supporting your foundation, supporting all the work you're doing, whether it be advocacy on social media, whether it be donating to your foundation, whatever it could be. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and all the good work that you're doing.
Yeah, we just launched a new website. We're really proud of it, www.waftbi.org. That's waftbi.org. And we put out a lot of good content on there. We're on all the social media hot buttons now, dropping knowledge bombs all day long. We're real big. I'm real big on the sciences and proving everything that you say with validation and research. And so we put out a ton of good articles for people to read and get good information on this stuff.
Well, listen, there's a reason why we call the show Behind Enemy Lines when we broadcast on WNJC. Behind Enemy Lines is not only because we're Republicans in New York City, but it's also because my co-host Russ Gallo, First Sergeant Gallo in the 258th, we must always keep our veterans in mind at all times. And it's a tribute to his service that we do, and it's a tribute to you guys and all that you do for us. And whatever we can do beyond this interview, let's not stop here.
Yeah.
We're going to take this beyond and support you in any way we can, whether it's advertising on the website, whether it's writing articles, whatever you need, we're committed to do it. We're on board right now.
Yeah.
And we're going to do all that we can to help out.
I mean, it just you guys are American patriots, and it's an honor to be with you and a part of this. It's going great.
Our patriotism pales in comparison to you, my friend. Thank you so much for everything. Chase, thank you so much. God bless.
Been an honor to see you guys.
Folks, go on the website, www.waftbi.org.
And, since that interview, I've had opportunity to talk to both Andrew Marr and Adam Marr with Warrior Angels Foundation. And the amount of veterans they helped this year, the hundreds of veterans they helped this year in managing their TBI and their PTSD, absolutely remarkable. The work that Dr. Gordon is doing with them, it's there's no words. There's no words for the gift that Warrior Angels Foundation has given to those veterans, and we hope they continue that great work in the new year, and we'll be there to support them as well. Time for another one of our great interviews. It's another one from CPAC, the guest that we have featured the most on this show. He's our friend, Van Hipp, from American Defense International, a great patriot, a great American, and a really great friend. The best part about this interview that I remember is what happened after the interview, which was Van and myself and Amanda Kohut, who helped with the interview, and a couple of our friends as well, just sitting around and talking politics with probably the foremost expert on American foreign policy and counterterrorism, or at least one of the foremost experts. And we're just there shooting the breeze, having a cocktail, enjoying our evening before we each, went out to dinner that night. And I cannot thank Van enough for the generosity of his time and his friendship of the show. Van, always great to see you, man.
And always good to be on my favorite radio program.
Okay. Right? I am marking that tape right now.
Not even a minute in, and we already got the love.
History right there. So, listen, congratulations on the panel that you moderated at CPAC. Tell everybody all about it.
Yeah, it was called Fighting for Victory Against Radical Islam. We had Congressman Steve King, Jim Hansen, who is from the Center for Security Policy, and Ayan Hirsi Ali, who fled radical Islamic persecution in Somalia, has come to this country, has a best-selling book out called Infidel, and just great people. And we talked about the fact that radical jihad, these people are here in this country, and we've let them in by not securing the borders. But we talked, too, about the things that we've got to do to keep this country safe, and that's really what 2016 is about, electing a commander-in-chief to keep America safe.
Earlier I was with Ambassador Bolton, and we were talking about the ramifications of what a Clinton presidency would do, not only for our standing in the nation, but just for our military readiness status. He basically said it would be almost catastrophic. Do you agree with that?
Well, I tell people, and I think we have probably been remiss on the right for not telling people this would be a third Obama term. That's all you need to know. And we've already cut the U.S. Army to pre-World War II levels. You've got more ships than you've got, more admirals today than you got ships. I mean, from a readiness standpoint, we're probably at our lowest levels in years. And here's a key point. People say, national security, it's going to cost money. That's what's bankrupting America. In 1960, 52% of all federal spending was for national security. Today it's down to 16%. It's all the other stuff that's bankrupting America.
We've been saying for years, Amanda, it's been not only cut through the muscle, but through the bone. Military spending. We're just not ready anymore.
No, and it's funny, but Carly Fiorina had a talking point during the presidential debates about restoring the Fifth Fleet, to bring back more of the warrior class of generals. Do you think that there's even more that we could be doing?
Oh yeah, there's a lot we can be doing, but she's right. We got too many politicians in military leadership roles instead of true warfighters. And the purpose of the military is not to conduct social experiments and do social engineering. The purpose of the military is to win wars and to protect the national security interests of our country. And the reason the states came together, the reason we have a federal government in the first place, is to provide for the common defense. Everything else is secondary.
Van, the one thing that I was jealous of the most with you was during the South Carolina primary, you were with every single presidential candidate, not only that mattered, but that was out there. And you were basically the, I guess you want to say the welcoming committee for South Carolina. Tell me about that experience and what you take away from that.
Well, my background, 1979, I was 19 years old, but I was on the committee of the Republican Party that created our first Republican presidential primary. So I understand and appreciate the history of the primary there, and we used the primary to build a Republican Party in South Carolina. But with my book, The New Terrorism, How to Fight It and Defeat It, over half the candidates actually got the book, and their staffs read it and looked at it to help prepare themselves on the foreign policy and national security aspects for the debates. So we were very blessed and fortunate to be asked by several of the campaigns to run and serve as a moderator for their town hall. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, since they got the chance to read the book and since you got an opportunity to meet with all the
available on Amazon.com, everybody.
Excellent plug. Did you What were your takeaways? What were your impressions? Were there any candidates who you felt really understood what needs to be done to fight the faceless enemy?
Yeah, if I could have blended about 4 or 5 of them and put them together, I think we'd have a great commander-in-chief. But I got to tell you, I had a great town hall with Marco Rubio last summer. Went great, and answered every question. It was like rapid fire. I mean, he was great. And I got to tell you, Ben Carson got a bum rap from a lot of people in national media. Now, bear in mind, I interviewed him after he had just come back from Jordan, dealing with the Syrian refugee crisis and all. And I think he had actually read the book because he was talking about the electromagnetic pulse thread, and I recognized some of the stuff. But brilliant man. And of course we did Donald Trump in Beaufort, South Carolina, the Tuesday before the election. And I got to tell you, with Trump, we talked about the ballistic missile technology of North Korea and how the Iranians have been funding that. And I was impressed.
And that's high praise coming from then. Mm-hmm. What was your overall impression of Donald Trump? Is he a man unto himself in the campaign? Is he listening to other people around him? Or is he shooting from the hip and just going with it?
Well, we're going to find out. But I do think it was very interesting, and we actually did 2 of his town halls. But he was very gracious. And the one thing about the Trump phenomenon is this, and I studied this. I went and looked at the returns, where he's getting his vote from and all. It's like the old silent majority. President Nixon, before he called them the silent majority, he called them the forgotten Americans. People who pay their taxes, they go to church, they love their country, but feel like their government's let them down. And regardless of who the nominee is, we've got to figure a way how to keep these people in the Republican Party, in the conservative movement. Because, look, people, we saw what Romney's done today and with Trump and all, the establishment created Trump. And let me tell you what I'm talking about. If we had secured the borders like we were supposed to, and I said this at CPAC today, that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party both have failed the American people in securing the borders of this country. Duncan Hunter, who I supported for president in 2008, authored the Secure Fence Act in 2006. We did not fund it. We did not enforce it. It was the law of the land. If we had done that, our borders would have been secured. Oh, by the way, a portion of that double fence was built along the San Diego-Tijuana border. Guess what? Murder, crime, drugs, illegal aliens, it's all down by in excess of 90%. It works. When you secure the border, it works. So for the people who want to go after Trump, I tell them, hey, you helped create Trump because you didn't enforce the border of this country.
We say that a lot on our show, that Trump is not only the result of an angry America, but he is also the result of an apathetic government that may have the tools to have done the job, but didn't finish the job. And now that Trump's message is getting out there, they're upset that people aren't still buying into the same old government that they've had for years. Yeah. And now it's like they're listening to somebody else's tune, and they're upset about it, and they've got to wonder why.
Yeah, and they're fed up with the establishment. And look, right now, this is an opportunity for conservatives and Republicans. In South Carolina, we had 125,000 roughly new people. We went from 600,000 to 725,000. 125,000 new voters. I talked to one county chairman who told me, she said, and this lady has lived there forever, and she said, we got people, I don't know who these people are. They came out of the woods. We've never seen them before. Don't know who they are, but they're new people. That's a good thing. Democrat primary turnout, down 26%. This is a good sign. If we play our cards right, we can win this thing this fall.
Well, then, do you think that these new voters are just being motivated by the overall tone of the election, or are they coming out because they're being moved by Donald Trump's message?
I think they're being moved by a message, and it could be any message, that stands up to the establishment and is not going from the establishment talking points, even if they disagree with him on things. I talked to a minister the other day. He said, look, I don't like the guy's language and what he does, but I'm not elected a preacher. He said the guy is brutally honest. And that's what this minister told me. So, and people right now, look, the unemployment numbers are a joke. People know everybody's got someone in their family who doesn't have a job right now. They're not even counting them in the unemployment numbers anymore. What Obama has done to this country, I mean, this is, to me, the most important election of our lifetime. And I think people realize that. And they are angry. And you know what? They got a right to be angry at their government.
Absolutely. And we were talking off air, and I wanted to get this on the record really quick. At heart, everybody at this table is a campaign nerd. Mm-hmm. We all like to talk about, data and crosstabs and top lines and all that fun stuff, right? And you hit on a big point about how you have 120,000+ new voters in the South Carolina primary and how to capture them back. Are the Republican equipped right now, regardless of who the nominee is? Are they equipped right now to capture those people's information, keep them active, and maybe do sort of a peer-to-peer contact the way that the Obama administration developed in their retail politicking?
I wrote a piece for Fox News recently, and we looked at this. I actually interviewed and talked to a number of the presidential campaigns, and they each said they don't trust the Republican National Committee to have the technology they need. They're going out on their own. Look, in 2012, there were 90 million people who did not vote. Romney won the independents. McCain lost the independents, but they both got about the same number of votes. And what that tells us, we didn't turn out our base. Our technology, our get-out-the-vote technology was a joke. It didn't even work. And I tried to bring this to the attention of people at the RNC, myself in 2012, after I talked to some experts and realized the problem, and was told we got I got the usual, we've got everything under control, don't need your help answer. And, of course, the thing didn't even work. Romney's people didn't even test the system until the day of the election. We had no get-out-the-vote technology. And I think that was worth a couple points in the election, no question.
Yeah, lawn signs do not vote anymore. I think that's the safe way to say it, right, Amanda?
Yeah, the campaigns have now advanced to levels of sophistication that are well beyond a lawn sign.
I mean, that's a great point. So many of these campaigns today have consultants who are stuck in the 80s, and how we win an election today is much different than how we won it then. And that might be why, I think Ted Cruz has done well with data analytics and all. And some of these candidates who understand the way we campaign, the way you get your message out, it's different than flyers in the mail and stuff like that. And I mean, it's changed.
I learned this from Ned Ryan, and he was in your reference in your article.
Yes, he's the best on the right. He's the closest thing we got with him and his technology to go toe to toe with the Democrats.
The new campaign model is a customer service model, not the old retail politicking of 72-hour get out the vote effort. It is a retail model. It's peer-to-peer contact, and your get out the vote effort starts 2 weeks before, not 72 hours before.
That's exactly right.
Well, Gene, consider 2008, the Democrats developed the minivan system where you would get updated information and analytics about individual voters real time. You send a campaign volunteer to a door with an iPad, and they have fresh questions different for every person on the block. Meanwhile, you have the Republican campaigns that are still going off of 4 of 4, 2 of 4 double prime voters. It's antiquated.
And Hillary is going to take the Obama model, and she's going to run with it. That's what people don't understand. He's plowed the road, so to speak.
And you're right about Ned Ryan. What his system does, as I understand it, it connects the iPhone to those mobile platforms, much like the Democrats. Since my article came out, I got to tell you this: we have gotten calls. I've gotten emails from people of former retired government officials who dealt with data analytics for the government, who don't want anything. They cannot get their phone calls returned from the Republican National Committee. RNC refuses to meet with them the whole bit. That is absolutely ridiculous.
The man knows everything, doesn't he? From foreign policy to national security to talking nerdy to me. Everything I wanted from an interview and more from Van Hip.
I'm a Renaissance man.
More so than anyone we've ever had. American Defense International, Fox News contributor.
Mr. Do-It-All.
You guys see the photos of him fishing and hunting with his kids on the Facebooks and all that stuff. Van, my guy, it's always a pleasure to see you, man. Thank God for everything you're doing, and we're going to talk a lot more, obviously, down the road.
I appreciate what y'all are doing. You're spreading the word, getting the message out. Thanks to both of you for what you do.
Well, you're part of our growth, man. Thank you so much. We're at halftime here behind Enemy Lines. Thanks for listening to the show. I'm Gene. Russ is not with us again this week because we're doing our best of 2016. He'll be sure to join us on our first live show of the new year. That's for sure. But I want to thank you guys for listening to the show. You can check us out at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. Check us out on the Facebooks and the Twitters at BEL_radio. But if you missed any part of this show, which we usually do live at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday nights on Spreaker, you can check us out at any one of our rebroadcast outlets, including WJHC 107.5 FM in Jasper, Florida, WDDQ 92.1 FM in Adel, Georgia, and WLBB 1330 AM in Carrollton, Georgia, all part of the Red Nation Rising Radio Network. You can also check us out at KLRN Radio, High Plains Talk Radio and Sackheads Media, ICRN, the Internet's Conservative Radio Network, and lanternsradio at lanterns.buzz. But if you miss us on any one of those rebroadcasts, you can check us out on demand anytime you want to at Spreaker, iTunes, Player FM, Podbay, TuneIn, Stitcher. You can discover us on Google Play Music. You can find us on SoundCloud and also on iHeartRadio, baby. Wow, the growth of the show is exploding. 3 stations now. It's pretty darn good if you ask me. I like the growth. I like the progress. I'm hoping we're going to see even more in the new year. It's going to be great. But as we're closing the chapter that is 2016, I just want to say what a life we have here behind Enemy Lines. The growth of the show, everything that we're doing, it's phenomenal. And part of our growth and part of the things that we do is a little party we like to throw at CPAC every year. It's kind of become, I think, Vanity Fair called it disgustingly legendary, which I don't think you can get any better praise than that from Vanity Fair magazine if you're throwing the wildest party at CPAC every year. Total respect to James O'Keefe, who you'll be hearing from later, and the Project Veritas party that's thrown there. Total respect to that party. That party's probably the biggest party at CPAC. But I think we definitely have the most, like I said, disgustingly legendary party, which we started as a tradition with our friend Steve Stockman. And you can kind of hear the fun that we have behind Enemy Lines, that wit, that sarcasm, the camaraderie that we have. In this interview that I did, again, it's from CPAC, and this was with our friend Sean Atkins and Amanda Kohut. Sean was a guest on the show, and we just kept him on for the whole show. You heard him with Andrew Marr earlier. This is kind of the continuation of that. And we had Steve come on the show, and I believe that another congressman, I think it was Mark Meadows, may have come on as well and popped on there. I have to re-listen to it to hear it, but you'll hear it right now.
I got to introduce Sean Atkins right now to one of the greatest congressmen to ever walk the halls of Congress. Currently not there, but let me do this right now on air. Standing interview. I'm going to... Sean, grab this microphone with me right now.
I got it.
We're going to bring into the show, live right here on WNJC 1360 AM, I'm going to call him my godfather, Congressman Steve Stockman. Congressman, come in here.
How you doing?
We got 4 mics set up here, right? So let's all go back to the table. You're going to sit over there. We're going to sit over here. Steve's going to take this one.
I'll start.
We're going to all talk together.
Everybody,
Congressman,
somebody.
I'll stand and shake his hand here. He's singing to me.
This isn't karaoke. That's later tonight. This is fantastic. I'm gonna get a shot of that. All that. Congressman, sit down with me here.
How are you?
Congressman Steve Stockman from the great state of Texas, formerly representing. What district was it? The 30?
No, 36.
I was close.
Fighting 36.
Hoorah. Absolutely. Sir, thanks for coming on the show, and welcome to CPAC Radio Row.
Well,
How you doing?
This is our favorite talk show, of course, because we had the best time.
Checks in the mail.
Secret hot tub party, which I hope you're coming to.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
Absolutely.
check it out. Notorious. That's the
secret's out now.
I was accused of being naked in the bathtub.
No, remember that 2 years ago? Yes.
Yeah, and I actually had people throwing money at me saying, "Put your clothes on."
Well, it was a fundraiser.
Most women, they give money for taking off, but me, they gave me money to put it back.
That's a good fundraiser out there.
That's right.
So we have a little bit of time for our next guest to come on the show. I just wanted to grab you on here, publicly thank you for everything you've ever done for the show, and also introduce you to Sean because listen, Sean is
hardcore, and I appreciate you plugging this book, Gene. You are great.
I love that he's wearing a tie and a gun.
Isn't that fantastic?
Is there any other way to roll?
And Congressman,
I think
he cleaned it with liberal tears.
Yeah.
Yes,
absolutely. We also did a bumper sticker. It said, "If babies had guns, there wouldn't be abortion."
Amen. Amen.
So,
which it wouldn't go over in New York, but man, in Texas they loved it. Babies and guns in one bumper sticker.
Liberal heads are exploding as we speak right now.
Yeah, if I drove my Hummer, my squashing liberalism Hummer through the streets of New York, I'd probably get stoned before I left the city because on one of the fenders it says "Kill jihadists, not babies," and I've got squashing liberalism. My AR-15's on there. It's the quintessential liberal squasher.
If you drove that in Texas, you'd be nominated and elected to Congress.
Probably on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to come to Texas and run. We love you.
That's always been a dream of mine.
I think you should.
Amanda,
I'll be your manager.
I may take you up on that.
You guys got to read this book. It's an amazing cover. If you don't have this book, get it just for the cover. He looks so cool in a suit and a machine gun.
I appreciate that. You're too kind though.
So listen, we're here at CPAC. You're making the rounds. Just want to see how do you feel about the vibe in the building today?
Well, last night the vibe was great, but that was more because it was induced.
I have a feeling that's coming again later on, Gene.
Possibly later on. I shall neither confirm nor deny on live radio.
We don't do rumors on Behind Enemy Lines.
Correct. We make rumors.
That's right,
What we should really say is, we were talking about it with Sean earlier, the amount of young people here this year as compared to past years, absolutely tremendous. And they're not just here for what we do afterwards. They're here to actually be engaged
But
and
I'm a little
be a
bit
part
surprised.
of it.
This is the first time I think I've been to CPAC where they had such security.
Absolutely.
And they're taking oranges. They confiscated their oranges. I
don't know.
I've never been hit with an orange, but I guess it could be deadly.
I've never seen an exploding orange either.
Yeah,
I don't know.
think that could be deadly, I guess.
Well, was that during the John Kasich speech? Maybe people want
There you go.
That's
Good. Yeah, good perception.
Absolutely. So now, I want to get your reaction to the news about Donald Trump snubbing CPAC after they gave him a prime spot on Saturday.
Yeah, I know. That is the prime spot. And I think that's second time he bugged out. He did the debate, he bugged out. I don't know. I was thinking, actually, that's an interesting question. I put myself in as a candidate. What would I do? And he's got some tough states coming up. Some of the numbers are coming down. So he's traveling to the competitive states. I think, is there no voting tomorrow?
I believe that there is.
I think Kentucky. Maybe I think Kentucky.
Yeah, I think they're voting tomorrow. So he got it.
It's a tough choice. I can understand it being a tough choice.
Yeah.
But when you're in a place that you have, I'm going to say over 10,000 people here at CPAC.
Oh yeah, there's
a
lot.
At least.
No, there's even more. Yeah,
of the most active and engaged conservatives you'll ever find.
And I might say,
and
by
you
the
don't
way,
come?
unbiasedly saying, and some of the most beautiful people, I'm not included in that crowd.
Stop! You are a fashion plate and a half.
Oh, stop it!
Love the hair. Love the hair.
No.
Can I interject?
By the way, I got a hair transplant.
Of course, yes, absolutely.
Here we are. We're getting ready to elect the next president of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, mind you. And he has a spat with Megyn Kelly, so he wants to avoid Fox News. He claims that if the RNC doesn't treat him just right, he may bolt the RNC. And now, because he's got butthurt over CPAC, he doesn't come, just like Congressman said, to where his base is supposed to be. What's he going to do sitting across the table from world leaders when he gets offended or when he feels threatened?
Yeah.
Is he going to walk away?
I'm being from Texas, and I had lunch every Thursday with my candidates, so...
Well, look, you're at a table of Trump supporters, just so you know.
Oh, phew.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that's your guy.
It's funny because we used to have a baseball guy named Jose Cruz, and they go, Jose Cruz! So now I'm trying
remember Cruz. I remember Cruz back in the 80s.
Yeah. He broke my heart until the 86.
We're both showing our age.
Yeah, 1986 is all I got to say to you.
That's horrible.
Astros Mets.
Was a great
Wait a minute, that's the year I was born.
Oh, yes, it was. I'm not going to blow up your spot. So... We got
this is a fun show. People should tell their friends about this show. They need to understand it's not just about politics, but you guys are great fun, and we need to get this on the satellite. What is it? We
don't plug the competition here, Steve.
Well,
but here's what I will plug. I will plug that Steve Stockman.
I want you on the satellite. This show needs to be on the satellite.
You'll get us there. You'll take us to the moon.
Anxious to plug us.
I love it, but I gotta give my due. Congressman Steve Stockman, when he was in Congress, had the highest conservative rating from the ACU.
Yeah.
I forget if it was 99 or 100%. It was right there.
And you can't see it, but I'm gonna give the Congressman a high five here from a Marine because that's awesome. That's what we need more of. I'll give you a hoorah. How's that?
There we go. Absolutely. So we're not talking to somebody who doesn't have the conservative credits.
It's true. Once a Marine, I'm a Marine. I tried to go join the Marines, but they wouldn't take me because I had asthma. True story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and here's the reason.
Wait, are you sure you're not taking Hillary's story? I'm pretty sure she
tried.
So there I was under heavy fire.
No one will answer my question.
They didn't email her back.
You guys...
They lost it.
Yeah.
Deleted.
You guys are my friends. I got a question that no one will take up the answer to.
Bring it.
Besides, let's have a drink.
Bring it.
Why does no one talk about the fact that Hillary barked? And what the hell's going on?
You know what? I see a video on it every now and then.
Obama ate one and she's barking. Maybe she ate one too.
It's subliminal communication.
Well, you know what I said about her earlier. That would fit right in.
Yes.
When I called her
the B-itch.
Yeah, the B-itch.
But honestly, you guys, how come, if a Republican started going, boo, 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 that would be a commercial.
Here's the answer. You have a media that protects Hillary Clinton. How often have you heard this week at CPAC?
I still want to know what caused it.
What caused it to bark?
I've spoken many times.
She got a tingle up her leg.
Huh?
She got the tingle up her leg.
No, but I've spoken many times. Have you ever seen anybody bark before?
I've seen Howard Dean go woo.
She barked. No, she went.
We're having a lot of fun now.
My goodness.
How do we go from serious?
We need to do your minimum now, Gene.
And we're there.
Crack one open.
So here's what I wanted to really get to. Oh my goodness, the photos here are going everywhere.
Oh my.
Sure.
What I want to know from Congressman Stockman is what is going on currently in Texas with. I wanted to talk to you actually about Rosemary Lemberg first and foremost. Remember Rosemary Lemberg in Austin and everything? Yeah. And I know that Rick Perry just won his criminal suit. Is there going to be any follow-up to that? You know, is there anything in the works to get this woman just done?
It's horrible because it was totally political. And the Democrats, by the way, are very good at using the courts, including Obama and the Department of Justice, to take out his enemies. For instance, they went after me, and they went after Michelle Bachmann, they went after, all the conservatives have gotten attacked by justice. You're a target. Yeah, and the thing is, people say, why don't you speak up? Well, when you speak up, man, you can get really heavy footprint on your back. Like when you get elected, be careful, man.
Well, what I say about my book is my book's got balls because, and that's what it's going to take. We can't have weak milk toast, roundabout conservatives or Republicans to save this country. We've got to have staunch principles, and we've got to have balls behind it to back it up.
Our good friend Ted Nugent said I had brass ones, which is really
amen. Yeah,
nice.
There you go.
I brought him to the State of the Union, and because Obama was going to talk about guns, But I understand you got another guest coming up.
We do, but I wanted to just say thank you so much for everything you do for us.
Me. And again,
save me a spot in the hot tub.
You got to get it. Squashing Liberalism, and it looks like a good read.
It's fantastic. You want to hang out for a minute? Sean?
I'm good. I'm good till 5 o'clock, brother. I can go for a long time.
All right, so I want you to stay on for this next guest. This is going to be a cool guest.
I got to get on tape. Are you getting me the 2 Reagan tickets? Because Jennifer wants one. Did you ever get to see her last night or not?
I did get to see her. She's around here somewhere. But
she's your new show assistant.
This is getting me too much now.
She will be at the hot tub party.
This is the first time I'm blushing on air.
She will be at the hot tub party.
We
just went into a totally different direction in the show.
Oh my God.
Well, come
Steve,
on.
This is AM radio.
Yeah, but you guys, let me tell you something. Last night was worse than what's happening right now. They were talking about the size. Come on.
Okay, so in the words of Donald Trump to Chris Christie, get on the plane. Steve Stockman, thank you for coming on the show. And we'll be talking to you soon.
All right.
All these interviews are great. I love doing them all. And I gotta say, what a pleasure it is to meet all these people. Probably the best conversation I had. I mean, listen, great conversation with friends, a lot of camaraderie on this particular show, a lot of great people that we helped out. But this interview with James O'Keefe hit home because it had to do with my home in the People's Republic of New York. And the discussion was more than just me asking questions. It was actually James asking some questions of me, which I had to take out of the clip because we're getting a little low on time. But listen to the full show that we did. It was called The Really Big Show. It's on Spreaker right now. Download that one and listen to it. It's really good. This interview I enjoy because, like I said, it felt like talking about making a difference in my own little neck of the woods. So I hope you enjoyed this interview we did with James O'Keefe. Gene Baradelli back behind enemy lines, and joining me on the line right now, the probably the most influential man in election reform in this nation's history. Yeah, I said it. James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. Sir, how you doing?
Hey, Gene. Thank you for having me on again.
It's a pleasure to have you back on, especially because we're talking about my home state, the People's Republic of New York, and talking about the latest news to come from Project Veritas all in one interview. Why don't you explain to people about the expose that you had regarding poll workers in New York City?
So on Election Day in Brooklyn, we all know there have been voter irregularities in Brooklyn, New York. So we went around to places in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, on primary day with hidden cameras to expose the irregularities, and what we uncovered was pretty shocking. I mean, we found poll worker after poll worker who encouraged us that we can vote even though we're not even residents of New York City. One poll worker we found actually encouraged us to use an address that obviously was not ours. He said, don't use this address being the headquarters there, the school where people were voting. She said, maybe use the one next door, which is a felony for her to do that. So Schneiderman has come out and said they're going to look into the fact that people were not allowed to vote. De Blasio has said something similar. What we found were people who weren't even supposed to vote who are being told they could vote, and it's a problem.
And this, let's make sure everybody understands, this is wholly separate from the voter scrubbing that was done by Diane Haslett-Rudiano, someone who I actually know and have worked with quite a bit, and I can tell you some stories about her, James. But this is wholly separate from that whole thing. This is something totally different. This has to do with the poll workers who 9 times out of 10 are patronage jobs that are given out by the state committee members of the party, the district leaders of the party, and who are wholly not trained at all to do the job properly at the Board of Elections. And as James said, this is indeed a felony. So now, James, where do we start with this whole thing? Because, to be honest, I do have some sympathy for the poll workers, not in this instance, but in general. The process by which closing polls and doing everything in New York is totally overburdensome nowadays. It's went from an easy job with closing the machines to scanners and tape machines and receipts and iPads and things that are being given out to a 70-year-old person who doesn't really know what any of this stuff really means and is significant for. Where do we start?
It's not an easy job, and frankly, that's the type of question you should pose to Schneiderman and Cuomo and Bill de Blasio. By the way, I thought about going and getting Bill de Blasio's ballot, which would have been easy to do because there's no photo ID required in New York. So, I remember I got offered Eric Holder's ballot a couple years back. Just by asking if they had his ballot there, they offered me his ballot. I would have walked in and said William de Blasio or Bill de Blasio. Maybe the poll worker would know. But your question is, how do you fix the system? And that is not my forte. My forte is to expose hypocrisy and expose fraud. And if it's so bad that every poll we walk into, the worker says, yeah, by all means, just use this trust. And I say, I am not a resident of the city. Is that a problem? No, just fill out an affidavit saying that you are. I mean, I don't know if it's incompetence, if these people are trying to be too nice, if it's a mixture of all the above, but it's probably a lack of ethics and a lack of morality amongst the people who are working at these places. But it's a problem, and the elected officials in New York have got to do something about it. I don't know what.
Right, and I think you hit the nail on the head that it's a lack of training. There was an expose done in the New York Daily News, I believe it was 2 years ago, that they sent undercover people, basically stealing your bit. They sent undercover people into the poll training classes at the Board of Elections. And James, when I tell you they would be rampant cheating throughout the entire test, you're supposed to take a test, and you're supposed to pass the test in order to be eligible to work. But they allow everyone to cheat on the test so that everyone gets to work. So when you say incompetence, it starts there.
It's funny, Gene. I don't know if any of this shocks anyone anymore. I mean, the number one comment I got on the video, people love the video, but the number one comment was, no one cares. The fraud and the incompetence and the abuse has gotten so widespread that I don't know if this shakes people anymore. People come to expect it. They were cheating on the exams, and most people would say, so what? We got bigger problems. So I don't know what to do. I think we're going to have to take it to the next level. We're going to have to, and we did, and just so your audience knows, we have tapes higher up in the Board of Election in New York that we're holding on to until the general election in November to release. We have bigger stories, not just poll workers in Brooklyn and poll supervisors. We have bigger stories that we're holding on to because, as I've been on your show before, I like to play a game of chess. I like to release a little bit at a time. And but there was so much incompetence. I think it's a lack of training. I think it's people lack of ethics, and I think the public has gotten so used to this type of thing that I don't know if there's going to be any reforms at all.
Well, admittedly, New York is a tough nut to crack because the system here is set up in opposition to the people. It's set up to keep the people who are in the party in power at all times. It's basically the king of the anthill, especially when it comes to the Republican side in New York, because you think you're getting something that's quote-unquote powerful, but you're really not. And they don't realize that this is a sacred trust, that our vote is kind of the great equalizer in society. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how poor you are, what your lot is in life, education-wise or whatever. That's the great equalizer. My vote can cancel out Donald Trump's vote, and vice versa. I think there's something missing in people realizing how significant their vote is, and maybe they're starting to be woken up by the primary process, something like that. But I definitely think, listen, don't despair, because you're doing a great job with Project Veritas. Let's talk about the recruiting that you've been doing on college campuses nationwide and the response you've been getting.
Well, and thank you for saying that, Gene. You know, I didn't mean to sound cynical. I'm just letting you know it's the number one comment that I get from people, from my audience, and from the people that love the work that we do is the fact that people are not shocked. And so, of course, the reaction to this is to do more of it, is to expose fraud at the highest levels, and we did this in New Hampshire, and they changed the law to require a photo ID because of what we did. The governor vetoed that legislation. The people overrode the veto, and we went again this year. We went ahead and did it again. But Project Veritas right now is on a massive recruiting operation. We spent all week in North Carolina last week on the college campuses identifying and finding these students, these graduating seniors, to become undercover reporters. And this weekend we're having an assessment weekend. We're located in Westchester, New York, and we bring these people to our headquarters and they learn the art of how to do what we do. And some people make the cut, some don't. And then we have a training weekend. So right now we're in the process of recruiting, identifying, and deploying undercover people. And it's a very long process because not everyone's cut out to do it. And the few that are, we have to train them in the art of how to have these types of conversations. So if you're interested if you're listening to this program and you're interested in becoming involved and you're in New York, it's careers at Project Veritas, VERITAS, careers at Project Veritas. Sign up to be an undercover reporter, going into poll locations, going into political campaigns, going into government institutions with a hidden camera, exposing the fraud for all to see. And so I'm very excited about it, and I found that graduating to college are some of the best people.
And that'll do it for this show and for 2016. Thanks for listening to Behind Enemy Lines Radio, but for now, from the People's Republic of New York, time to shut this sucker down. We are out of here. See you in the new year, folks.
Our position's been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A Rock Radio production. Copyright 2016. Back in 7 days. Out.